What's up, a Cinema Shogun here, and slowly but surely, their narrative surrounding this East Palestine, Ohio train derailment is crumbling. It is slowly just ripping apart at the seams and crumbling like a crispy Nabisco cookie. And you know, I kind of figured that this would happen because I feel like they are underestimating the people, if you will. I think they are underestimating how we have been able to connect via social media and just how the world is in 2023. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of idiots out there. There's still a lot of sheep. There's still a lot of people who just aren't really paying attention to what's going on. But those of us that are, we're starting to connect. Not only are we starting to connect with each other, we're starting to connect other dots. And you know, in 2023, you tell us, hey, this is the situation in East Palestine, Ohio. Well, people are just going to pick up and go there and see for themselves. You know, they may be able to lie about things that happen in Ukraine and overseas, but no longer here in our country can they really blatantly lie to our faces, because people can just go see for themselves. And the people in those areas can share their stories via social media, which is why they're cracking down on social media a lot. They're constantly cracking down on YouTubers. I hope they don't crack down on me, but that's why you should be following me on Twitter so you don't lose track of me if that ever does happen. And you know, I think you have to be prepared for that happening once you start calling out stuff like the stuff that I've been calling out lately. But you know, they've been in control of the narrative as far as the water is safe and the air is safe, because up until now, all of the people testing the air quality and the water quality and the soil, it's all been an independent agency that was hired by the train company. They're all in cahoots together, if you will. But now, independent scientists, journalists, some scientists, you know, from random universities around America, they're interested in what's going on out there. I think they know, just like we know, us normal people, we know. I think these scientists and these college professors and these experts, if you will, they know that, you know, they're lying about what's going on there. They know that, and it's almost like insulting to their intelligence. So what's happening here, like I said, you know, in today's day and age, especially with social media, the way we're connecting, people will pick up and go to an area just to show people what's happening on TikTok and what have you. Some of these scientists from various universities, independent contractors as well, that some, I can't say this for certain, but I think some people in that town have gotten some people to start coming in and doing tests of their own as well. And guess what, folks? Turns out they lied. They lied. Does that surprise you all? Doesn't surprise me one bit. They lied about the air being safe. They 100% lied about the air being safe. And every scientist that has traveled out there has called it out. I want you all to watch this clip real quick, and then I'll be back with more thoughts.
The Texas A&M Superfund Research Center, in collaboration with Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, decided to do their own sampling.
We noticed that there wasn't a lot of contextualization of the actual numbers that EPA had been releasing.
Wei Shui Chu, deputy director of the research center, says it's the long-term effects that could be serious.
We took those air measurements and compared them to what EPA considers to be a safe level for lifetime exposure. And we found that, particularly for acrolein, that some of the measurements were above what would be considered safe if it were to continue into long term into the future.
Chu says acrolein, a hazardous material found in smoke, affects the respiratory tracts and nasal passages.
And these aren't the only independent, if you will, people that are coming out there doing tests of their own. And I am so glad that these people are showing up and they're running their own tests because everyone who is doing so is saying, yeah, it's not safe. But let me break down kind of what's happening here. When the train derailment happened, it released dozens of chemicals, okay? Dozens of different chemicals. As far as I know right now, a lot of those chemicals are no longer traceable. They're gone. And you don't really have to worry about anything from those chemicals. But there is at least 9 different detectable chemicals out there still within the air, water, and soil. Mind you, these numbers may fluctuate a little bit, but what happens here is we don't know what they're testing for. And when I say they, I mean like the government and, the independent agencies that were hired by the train company. They're out there running the official test. But in those official tests, we don't know what they're testing for. They could very well be coming out there and being like, all right, we're testing for these specific chemicals. And then their tests will show, hey, look, there's no danger. These chemicals are no longer in the air and the water and the soil. And they could be telling the truth. But the fact is, those tests may be for certain chemicals, when in reality, they know there's other chemicals that are also out there. Also, here's another thing that's happening. Due to certain regulations, and I am no expert on this stuff. Some of you all may know more about this than me. But due to certain regulations and things, they can tell you that, hey, that in the immediate, in the time being, hey, this is safe. Like, there could be certain traceable chemicals in the air. And if you're going to have limited exposure and you're going to be exposed to that chemical for a couple of hours, there may be no real danger. But being exposed to those chemicals for, let's say, weeks on end or months on end, that's different. So they're telling people, hey, there's no immediate threat or danger, from these chemicals, which it depends on who you are and how your body reacts. Yes, very well, there may be no immediate danger. Meaning, yeah, you could walk into your house and grab some things and walk out. You'll probably be okay. But if you sleep in that house for 7 months straight around these chemicals, no, it's not going to be okay. So they're telling people things are okay because some of these chemicals aren't presenting a immediate threat, but they will be posing a big threat with, the more exposure you get. And you have to keep in mind that it's not like they're telling these people, gather your belongings and then you got to move somewhere else. No, they're telling these people, hey, it's safe to go home. You could drink the water. You could live here. You could farm on this land. You could just act like nothing has ever happened. In reality, that's a lie, because they're going to keep getting exposed to these chemicals that aren't going away anytime soon. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse for them. But this is how they kind of finesse it. This is the games that they play. So they could tell you something and it could be factual, but technically they're leaving out certain things. So these people are sneaky. These people are definitely sneaky. That's why I'm glad these independent scientists and these independent researchers are coming into the area doing their own tests. And like I said, I don't find it surprising that they are able to find this stuff, but the government and the agencies hired by the government to do the test can't. And I mean, I can guarantee you all, the people who are hired by Norfolk Southern, they have way better equipment, okay? And a bigger workforce, manpower. They're better equipped for this job, yet they're pretending like they can't find anything. Meanwhile, people are getting off their couches and going out here and finding this stuff, in the water and in the air. So it's definitely... It has definitely not gone away. But to take things one step further, it doesn't look like they're happy. And when I say they, you know who I'm talking about. The government, the powers that be. The EPA, if you will. In this situation. The EPA and the officials who are hired to go out there and do the test, they're getting angry. And they're getting upset about the independent scientists coming out there and doing their tests. And there was actually kind of a confrontation between one of the independent researchers and one that was sent by the powers that be. Let's watch this clip real quick.
You're on private property here.
I'm sorry, I'm just asking you if you're taking samples.
I'm not. I just like you refer me to your public information officer. Have you taken samples?
I can't answer any of your questions.
You can't. Well, then why should I answer any of your questions?
Because this is a medical site.
Because of what?
We need to know who's coming and going on this site.
But this is private property.
We're working down here.
You're standing on private property right now.
I'm sorry, but I need to know.
I have to check with my public information officer.
Okay.
You're on private property.
I'm sorry.
The landowner doesn't want you trespassing.
Oh man, it's not a funny situation, but I find it hilarious that they have the audacity. They're sitting there questioning him. Why are you doing this? What are you doing with this? And then when he asks them a question, they're like, hey, we can't answer any questions. What? So don't ask me anything. But as you can see, they're getting upset. Upset to the point that they're storming off, raging mad like an emo teenager. Because, turns out that some of these residents in the area got real scientists and, people who are going to conduct real tests coming through. And they're finding out that y'all are lying. They're finding out that y'all are in the creeks twiddling your thumbs, picking your nose, playing around like you're really working, when in reality you're reporting false information to the people of East Palestine. And now you're getting upset, throwing a hissy fit because people are coming out there to actually help these people instead of lying to these people. And let this clip be a perfect example for you all. Do not get black-pilled. Do not get discouraged. It may seem like we are all up against insurmountable odds, but let me tell you right now, the powers that be, they aren't sending their best. They've formed an army of woke weirdos who can literally not live or think for themselves. And when pressed with confrontation, this is how they will react. They will fold. They will cower. They will run away like an emo little girl when pressed with questions. So remember that. Whenever you're discouraged and you think there's no possible way we could win, there's no possible way we could see the other side of all of this madness, remember, these are the people they are sending. They are not sending their best. They are sending an army of woke, brain-dead idiots that will completely fold under pressure. So let this video be a perfect example of that for you all, okay? If you're ever discouraged, just watch that clip. All you have to do, 9 times out of 10, when you encounter these type of people in real life, just press them a little bit. I'm not saying violence, never the answer. With your words, they can't handle it because their whole entire existence is based on a lie, and you can crumble that foundation by simply challenging them. Like, hey, I'm not answering your questions, you won't answer mine. Fine, then I'm gonna rage off. This is the EPA. This is who is out here, the professionals that are supposed to make sure these chemicals aren't tainting the town. Meanwhile, they're throwing hissy fits in people's backyard in the middle of a creek. Let me know your thoughts about this, though, down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.